Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on the TechMargin podcast. I am Sonia Cook-Broen, founder of the TechMargin, and I'm joined here today with my co-founder, Christopher O'Connor, and the fabulous Pia Mailhot-Leichter. And we are so excited to have a conversation around creativity, in particular around Pia's book, Welcome to the Creative Club, which is your invitation to make life your biggest art project. And before we begin, I just want to read a short section from your book, Pia, in the chapter Death and the Milky Way. And this is just a wonderful reminder of what it is to be a creative being. And here we go. Okay. If you were given 5 years to live, would you keep doing what you're doing? And if not, what would you change? Why wait to get why wait to get hit with an air conditioner on the sweltering streets of New York City, or feel a lump in your testicle to start living and creating the thing you really want to birth, all puffy and pregnant? I don't know about you, but I find this incredibly helpful. There's so much in all of your words, Pia, in this book. It's personal. It's a journey, both the mental and physical kind. You bring in metaphysics. You bring in your own journey of inner work. But really, it's, to me, what I take away from it is not fearing the uncertainty that is around us all of the time. And is that where you began when you started the book? Did you know that was uncertainty present with you? What was where how what are your thoughts on uncertainty?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited to be here with you and Chris. It's an honor. Uncertainty. I don't think I had that in my mind as like this is going to take part of the book or be, part of the weave of the book, but it definitely feels very prominent in life. I mean, uncertainty is life. Like life is uncertain. There's no way around it. I think we try to find ways around it because that uncertainty is difficult to be in. It's challenging and it's frightening and both exhilarating to be in the unknown, uncertain.
Yeah. Do you
Because we
think
don't know what can happen.
there's something about walking away from the prescribed path that I mean, that's a big part of your book, but it's also a big part of, I think, that creative journey for most creatives is taking that moment and choosing. And
Well, yeah, sorry to interrupt. I think
no.
as creatives, first of all, if you're human, you're creative, but especially for people who identify as creatives, we, to a certain degree, have been building our capacity to be in uncertainty. Because whenever you're about to create something, you don't know what that will be yet. I mean, if you knew what you were going to create when you sat down to create it, it wouldn't be very creative. That's the antithesis. So in a way, every time whatever your medium is, we approach the page or a canvas or a screen, we are confronting and playing with uncertainty. And we're getting, hopefully, joy from it as well. Like, I don't know what this is going to be. Let's see. And that's the beauty of the creative process is a discovery of what might emerge in this space when we're able to be in it, to be in that uncertainty. Thing is, sometimes there are challenges or we get blocked when we want to apply that to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, how do I take that? Because life is a creative process.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I apply that same way of seeing uncertainty when it comes to my life in order to take the risk? Because creativity also requires risk.
Yes.
Right? To take risks to create a life that I really want to inhabit. That feels fulfilling.
What I hear you saying is, like, that childlike joy of creating and that feeling we get in the uncertainty, we know we have it, but to make it happen in our lives, we have to apply that to our lives. Find out how to make our lives that open space that allows that risk and emergent possibility to coexist.
That's beautiful. Emergent possibility. I mean, that's how I like to describe uncertainty. It's the realm of knee-knocking angst and infinite possibility.
Yes.
And we get to choose, which one what energy that we really want to be in, or we can shift to the other one when we start feeling that angst. We can remember, oh, wait a minute, this is also the realm of infinite possibility. Precisely because it's unknown and uncertain, anything can happen. That's like the birthplace of many creative things that we would never be able to fathom or envision. It's like, because anything is possible, but that can also feel really scary.
Yes.
And Pia, what I'm wondering with regards to creativity in general, but like, when you have those sparks of that voice that is whispering something into you, and you're kind of half the time maybe you avoid it or you don't quite listen to it, but when you actually do listen to it, the places it can start to bring you, and then kind of increasing your trust in that voice, because I think we've all had that voice whisper in different intonations throughout our lives, and sometimes we listen and sometimes we don't.
Well, hearing you say that, I get curious about like what stops us or you from listening.
I think trusting oneself is such a big part of following a creative path, and I've discovered in myself relatively recently that you can think you trust yourself until you get to this next place where you realize that sense of trust you thought you had wasn't really that deep, and now it's deepened, and you realize you can go in, like the terrain opens up in front of you, and that keeps kind of unfolding and happening in that way. Like the more you trust, that voice actually gets stronger and a little louder, and actually it's a tone that is reverberating and resonating deeper with you as you listen to it more. And sometimes after you start listening to it more, of course, you're like, why haven't I been listening to this voice longer? Or like, why was I afraid of listening to it? Or just I didn't believe in this magic over here could be a reality.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes I think what that voice often, at least in my case, whispers for me to do are to take risks and to enter, new territories, or to maybe have these micro deaths, to be able
Yes.
to be reborn, something else in the next creative evolution. And that can create resistance because it feels unsafe. I don't know what I'm birthing next. Like, but I know what I have here, even though it might be outdated or it's no longer working for me or it needs an extinction moment, right? So I think that also contributes on top of not like the developing trusting that voice, but then being able to follow that voice, requires us to take risks and to do things that might make us feel wildly uncomfortable because they're new.
And I think certainly the first pass, once you decide to take this journey into trusting yourself, I think that's the first pass, and maybe always, but that's when the voices from the past are the loudest. For those of us who are just starting out on the journey, maybe the three of us have been on it for a while, and I call you a trailblazer, Pia, whether you like it or not, because you are. And I think one of the important things of doing this work is that you leave these clues for other people, because there isn't one plan or one blueprint you can follow, but knowing it's possible, for one, and knowing that maybe people like me, whether it's my gender, the type of creativity, the voice, tone of voice, it's like you're leaving little breadcrumbs or little star like sparks in the sky for those who are just starting out on their path, and like facing those voices that really keep us stuck in I think the circle of repeating, because maybe it's our parents, maybe it's our peers, our culture, somebody or many forces told us this is the right thing to do, and that's bad, that's irresponsible, that's not the path for you. And like this journey is all about taking all of your self-belief and realizing that's worth so much more than any of those voices, and shushing them. They might be there for a long time, but shushing them all the way down.
Well, I think to Chris's point earlier, whichever voice we listen to, we strengthen.
That's good. Yeah.
So I think it's important to recognize which voice is in the room. right? Because we all
Right.
have inner saboteurs too that try to keep us safe, that we developed in childhood, usually as a response to perceive or actual threat.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did work at some point. They're not here trying to intentionally sabotage our adult selves, but
Right.
that's unfortunately what ends up happening. So it's being able to recognize which voice is in the room, what energy is it, fueled by? Is it fear? Is it trust? What's happening, and then making a conscious choice about which voice you want to strengthen.
Yeah.
Right.
And then do you think there's like each, like we were talking before before we started recording here, about how each phase or there's like new levels. I've been calling it like a video game, like, you get to the next level and you level up, like, you've got to wrestle with the next bad guy, and so you need to get new tools. And we were just talking about that before we started recording, like that, idea of spiraling up, and kind of needing to trust yourself in this new level, in this new plane. And do you think that each iteration gives you like almost muscle memory, so that in a way that gets easier? I'm like hopeful. Does it get easier, Pia?
Yes and no, I think. I mean, everything is individual and personal. So my
Yeah, of
experience will
course.
only be mine, and maybe someone else, of course, has their own beautiful experience.
Yes.
But
Ease is not part of it.
I, maybe parts
Yeah,
of it. I
yeah.
don't know. Like it's. I think of growth is like an upward spiral, right? Well, also we can also go back down again, and I think as humans the universe is constantly expanding, and we also are the universe, right? We also are life. And to me, there is a connection between growth and fulfillment. I think all of being human, there is a desire to expand and to grow and discover, how much is up to us. But in some way, I think that we are just like nature, we are growing and changing. So when we're consciously growing and changing, when we're aware and we're taking risks and we're kind of expanding and we're about to round a bend, we get the bends.
Yes,
It feels uncomfortable.
yes.
It feels uncomfortable.
Mhm.
It's like, because we're entering a much bigger space. So who are we in this bigger space? What is going to be on the other side of the bend? Uncertainty again. I don't know. And then trust has to come in. It's like, I don't know, but I'm going to release and trust that I'll figure it out. And for me, this has happened recently where with like the book it's not coming to an end. The book never does. The audiobook is released. There's a spoken word or album coming, but I'm lifting my foot off the gas because there are other creative projects that are calling me. I don't know exactly what shape those are going to take. I feel like there's a bend that I'm rounding, but I don't know what's on the other side. And I caught myself having the urge to change something. I got restless. Like maybe I just need to move somewhere, or maybe I don't know, like I got all these like different urges, like something needs to change. I don't know what it is. And I was starting to like force or push. And when I was able to take a step back, I could see that it was my desire. I was trying to control things in order to create a sense of certainty. I've been around this bend before, but here I am again. And it took me a minute to like catch myself to go, see, normally I would in the past just create chaos because I know chaos. And at least I can be certain that, hey, at least I'm the one creating it. And then I know what's going to come. And my voice said to me, just sit with it. Just be with the not knowing. You don't know. That's okay. You just keep showing up fully and get quiet so that I can listen, I can hear, right, where my heart is pointing to. And I did that over the weekend, and it was, Sunday was such a delightful day. Like I just wrote and I could caught myself and I held myself in compassion, like, you're doing that shit again. That's all right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't act on it. I didn't throw a bomb in anything. I didn't create chaos to try to like at least control the situation in some way or revert to like running or pushing. But I felt it. And then that came through and I decided to apply for an artist residency in France. And I applied for another award for my book, which I totally forgot about because, you can apply for like these. And those two small things felt really good to me. It was kind of like showing up for what might be possible. Like maybe if I have more space I can, what I'm meant to create is going to, emerge.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when I applied for the residency, I had to write a very short paragraph about what my new project was. And which was great because it turned out I had a title and a general idea. And I said, I need this residency would help give me the bones and put some meat on it, maybe the first few chapters or an outline to kind of see what it could be. And that felt really good. And that just came from showing up. Like I wasn't trying to do that. Slowing down, being aware of what I was feeling, making a conscious choice to do things differently, just to sit and to get quiet and just to be with it. Feels uncertain.
I love
Okay.
that. I love that. Yes. And I love how I can relate very strongly to that feeling of throwing a bomb on it or like pushing or like that need to just move. I mean, Chris, how many times am I going, let's look at this place on realtor.com. Like, we don't need to move right now. We don't need that distraction. But like, if things get stressful or stuck feeling enough, I need to make movement happen. That's my go-to. I mean, there's so much about your story. I was like reading the pages like of my own life. Although I think you're a lot more of a absolutely than I am. Just saying.
Oh, you're a badass, Sonia. Don't
in
even
my own
second
way.
guess
Thank you.
that.
I'm like,
absolutely.
No, I don't.
Sonny.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I love reading your adventures of train rides across Siberia and just that how you even in that you're wrestling with this moment of uncertainty and trust. Every moment feels like this dance that you're doing, and it's a beautiful release. It's just so beautifully written. I can't recommend this book highly enough to anybody who's doing just about anything in life because it is true. It is beautifully written, and you go on an adventure, and I think there's so much to relate to in here too. But I also want to just touch on you use poetry a lot. And I think that in itself is kind of a wonderfully rule breaking, beautiful way of bringing people in even more into the vulnerability, I think. Tell us about that a bit.
Well, there are two aspects to that. One is that my editor said, if you're asking people to make life their biggest art project, you better make this book your biggest art project. So that means bringing different things together. And for me, poetry has been a part of my life since I was a kid, writing it and reading it. And poems can do something that sort of prose, I think, can't do, which is it kind of bypasses the analytical mind and hits you in the solar plexus and makes you feel something without necessarily having to analyze or understand exactly what it is, but it just moves you, does something to you. And that felt really important to me because there were some things that I wanted to evoke or to invite people into that needed another form, it need to take a different shape so that I can try to access those points or those emotions or those something.
It's like poetry is almost a bit like abstract art or something. Like in a way, it's like not as figurative art tells you what to see and like. I'm looking at you, Chris.
well, for me, poetry has always kind of. Because the written word hasn't come easy to me. For some reason, either my internal critic is always just analyzing it too quickly and just trashes it. But poetry, as you say, it bypasses that. And I think what I love about poetry and what I love about a good line is that it can pack emotion and feeling and information almost like the sun packs energy. And as it hits you, it unfolds. And you feel that's what you feel, sunshine. And poetry has that ability to pack an awful lot into even 3 or 4 words. But because of the way they're put together, once whatever particular brain hears it, it just goes boom. And that's one of the things I love about poetry, just because I have a block to prose. And Sani, for the longest time, and finally it's starting to work, has been asking me or telling me and instructing me and advising me to journal. And I've been like, I'll get to it. And finally, I'm started to doing it. And it just, as anyone who journals will tell you, it does just blow open things. Yeah.
Well, I just heard a poet in the way you described that. So let's just say that. And the inner critic, one thing that helps me, because I think she shows up, when she's in unwanted spaces. And what helps is if she shows up when I'm about to write something, and usually when I sit down to write, I really want to create a safe space to just allow whatever needs to come out, and it doesn't have to be good. It gets to suck. Like it doesn't have, it can be whatever it needs to be. And so if the inner critic comes in while I'm in that space, especially that like first draft mode, I'll say, no, it's not thank you for coming and trying to help me out. It's not your time. You will be invited back further down the process where your skills will be appreciated, when you're editing and you're evaluating your work,
Yes.
but it ain't going to be now. And I find that's really helpful because it's not ignoring or rejecting or pushing away. It's saying, oh, okay, thank you. You're here. Great. But this is not your time or space. You'll come back. You'll have that moment in the sun. It works every time for me.
Yeah.
So, it works every time. And I do it frequently whenever she comes up. It's like, oh, you're here again. Okay. Here we go.
Reminds me a lot of Elizabeth Gilbert's description of fear getting in the back seat, and fear is always going to be with us. I think you mentioned her too in your book, but that she is fear is just like it's a companion. It's one of many that is on our life journey with us, but it can sit in the back seat. It doesn't need to use the maps. It doesn't get to use the maps, touch the maps, but we can't like make it go away. And there's something about that like. That Western, I think, way of like working on ourselves that can almost feel like the goal is to eradicate these things. Like, I am going to be so pure of any kind of doubt that I believe in everything I do. No, did you just make yourself into like a sociopath, really? Like these are human feelings and human emotions. And
absolutely.
I think the uncertainty is what connects. In some ways, the uncertainty and wrestling with it is what connects us to the other creatives that are creating in the world. Because if it just felt like it all just like came out that way with no vulnerability, not that it has to be a struggle. I'm trying to wrestle with that idea of like the pain and the things that we have to lean into that are uncomfortable doesn't also mean struggling. There's like I think we equate that like working hard, struggling and pushing and that holding that death grip is sort of that control, but it's a struggle. That's a different kind of struggle than releasing and feeling the things you need to feel, feeling the discomfort. That's not really a struggle. That's just like being brave enough. That's something different in there. But I think some people might equate feeling those negative feelings that you kind of have to go through when you start to trust yourself as a struggle. But that's not the struggle, is it? The struggle is spending your whole life in a blueprint that isn't yours.
True. And I think, listen, emotions are data. They come and they tell us something that we might need to know, so we can like, yes, let's feel it. And then let's look at it like,
what is that?
What you showed up here? What's behind you? Your presence, like what made you waltz into the room? All right, have a cup of tea, we'll hang out, and then off it will go because it's an emotion. So emotions come and go. That is the nature of feelings. I think there's neuroscience study that said emotion lasted, I think 90 seconds in the body. If even that.
Like feel the wave.
Like we feel it physically in the body for like 90 seconds. If it continues, it's because it's on replay in the mind, but it's no longer felt in the body, even though I do believe emotions can also get stuck in the body.
Yes.
But I just thought that was really, really interesting in terms of research. It's like, so if there's an emotion that's lasting longer or a long time, you can say, okay, maybe it's now my mind that's telling a story that's keeping it alive and active for longer than it might need to be. Because once we feel it, we could let it pass. We don't have to tell stories about why it's here.
Yeah, I do. And I think, like you said just now about emotions being in your body, I think that is particularly true when we, just to go back a bit of time, when you first took the journey to leave the prescribed life, and I think for many of us, it is a bit of our hand is forced into some new reality. But I think, many of us spend the first half of our lives stuck in emotions, stuck in our body, not being aware that this isn't our path. We're just striving and trying. Those first steps into allowing those emotions in can feel terrifying. And they do feel like the emotions are you and they're indistinguishable. And I mean, I think that's where like a good therapist is very helpful here. But do you remember like in those moments, like some of the things, some of the ways you talk to yourself, things that helped to be brave, to face?
Well, often fear, is it Dune that said this? Fear is false evidence appearing real. I can't remember,
Ooh,
but
I like
it's it's
that.
it's, it's a really good one.
That's a good one.
False evidence appearing real. Yeah. So fear is often presents itself as anxiety about the future,
Mm.
right? So it's about, starting to create scenarios about what might go wrong or what might happen. So when I feel anxiety, it usually stems from this, story casting about all of what might happen in the future. And then I can catch myself. Awareness is key, catch myself and say, deep breath, where are you? I'm here. What's here like? It's pretty good, actually. Okay, stay here. Just stay here.
Mm.
And if we keep staying here as we move towards our own blueprint or our own life or what we're yearning to create, I think that helps give us a lot of courage. Or if we start playing the what if game, if we're going down that route, then let's flip it and play the positive what if game. If we can play the negative what if game, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if I don't survive? All of that, then we can also play the positive what if game. What if I succeed beyond my wildest imaginings?
What if you fly?
Exactly. What if I create something that makes such an impact in the world? What if? I mean, we can also do that too.
Yeah.
But then I think just remembering like where we are, it just kind of takes the charge out of that fear.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm not there.
Yeah, Pia, one of the things I liked in your book, the way you phrased something was, and it was a new concept to me, which always kind of, when that happens, it blows a little fuse. But there's no lone genius, right? That I get, that I've been with for a bit, but the idea that even when you're on your own, you are a co-creator, you're a co-collaborator. That one was really quite nice to come across and kind of just let it explode in your brain to see what that feels like. Because that actually felt really good to know that for the longest time I would have said, Sani would be like, "Hey, Christian, come on, let's collaborate," and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really a big collaborator. I work solo, and then over the last whatever 7 or 8 months we've been collaborating a lot, but then I read this in your book and I'm like, that's exactly the information and like thinking that I want and need more in my life, because it unlocks my own creativity that I feel like I've never been quite able to get the creativity I want that I know is inside of myself, because I keep feeling like I have things in my way, but they're more mental blocks, limited looking at things. And whenever you can come across words, feelings, sayings, information that allows you to unlock any of those things in your way, it's really a lovely experience. And I love that collaboration, even when you're working on your own. That really resonated.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. I think there's something magical happens when we get together. I mean, we're co-creating right now,
Absolutely.
and we're able to see things in the other people. They can see things in us, reflective mirrors, ideas, bouncing ideas off one another as well. Like someone might say, "Hey, do you think about that?" You're like, "Oh, but that makes me think of that." And then like all of a sudden it feels like the possibilities are just unfolding of what we might be able to create together. And for me, at least, there's so much joy in that. It feels really good. Like I feel alive in those moments. We're like, "Oh, yeah. And then what about this?" And then, I think we require a partnership for our own growth in so many ways. We are social creatures. And at least especially in my life, partnership has gotten me through and helped me become more self-aware, from therapists to coaches to creative collaborators, throughout my entire life. And it's in the moments where I forgot that, I got in my own way. So for example, before I wrote the book, I didn't write the book because I had an idea, an old cultural story in my head. Like, hey, wait a minute, I don't have a pipe. I don't have a log
Right.
cabin in the woods or a typewriter.
The
I
lone
don't need-
genius.
right? Exactly. I don't know how I would bang out a book all by myself. And so that stopped me from doing it. And then I realized when I started working with this hybrid publisher, of course you don't do that. I mean, maybe some people do, but you don't have to, most of us don't have to do that on our own. We have editors we work with and talented people who can reflect. And like my editor said when I was writing a chapter, it sounds like you're writing in the voice of an old version of yourself. And I think your readers deserve your present version. I was like, ugh.
Your editor is amazing, though, by the way.
She
I mean,
is.
you bring her into the book, too.
She
in the
really
chapter.
is.
Oh, my goodness. What insight.
Shanna Heath. She's a
Shout out.
fantastic editor and author and creative and artist herself. So, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to see that.
Yeah.
Because I needed her to shine that reflective light.
I think that would
show
be a
myself.
blind spot for any of us.
And we all have them.
Yeah.
And what a beauty. And that's also the beauty of relationships and partnerships. Like, you know, and it's great that you both get a chance to have that on so many different levels. Like how exciting
it really is.
We're able to heighten our self-awareness and co-create and heal and vibrate higher and spiral up and do all those things in collaboration. And I think that's what enables us to do those things. It is a prerequisite for our growth.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good one.
Yeah. And sorry, I'm just going to pop in here, son. And so, Pia, you know, with the idea of, you know, when you're growing and changing and like you start to evaluate and question all the things you do and why you do the things, like I find it fascinating and thrilling and exciting and scary, but at the same time, it's like this thing that is constantly unfolding as it's rolling down a hill. How do you keep your center in that where everything is moving around you, you feel, and all the aspects of yourself that you used to maybe think were you are now just falling behind as you look in the mirror and you're like, oh man, what is me?
Well, that's powerful and also very true. And I can relate to that. I think what grounds me is like certain practices. It's meditation. I get in touch with the witness, with me, you know, with the one who is witnessing me, the observer. I kind of anchor. Also journaling, hence Sonia's wonderful prompts there. Hey, husband, partner, journal. Because that's another way of kind of meeting yourself as you move into your next becoming. Because I think it's beautiful. We get to meet ourselves again and fall in love with ourselves again and again and again in our lives. Because if we're lucky, we're growing and we're changing. But it's like getting to know ourselves again. Like there's a part of us that doesn't change, right? That kind of observer. And then there's a part of us that is fluid and is mutable and is moving. And that gives us a chance to go, who is she? You know, what is going on? And the only way it's like going on dates with someone. Like you're like, oh, what's your favorite color? What do you love to? What did you dream of? What are your things?
Right, because you don't know.
You get to romance yourself again and again. And how wonderful is that? A lot of us don't take the time to do that. We don't take the time to romance the heck out of ourselves and get curious about who we're birthing next or who we're becoming next. And also honoring who we are. I find that's really, really important to hold both, right? To honor all that we are and everything we have in this moment in time as we also stretch excitingly into our next becoming and into our next creative venture. And it's so important to hold both. Otherwise, we can fall into a scarcity trap of just focusing on the what's next instead of also appreciating what's here.
So much. That was so beautifully said. I feel like that's sums up this journey so well. It's like almost plant-like. We have to be here where we are in this perfectness that is our form now, but also grow towards the sun with that is curiosity, that is our human curiosity, honestly. And I read something recently that when we thirst for information, we thirst for knowledge, when that curiosity is live in us, it actually stimulates the part of our brain that is when we're thirsty for liquid is activated, and the same part when we're thirsty for when we're curious, like thirsty for knowledge. And I just love that because it reminds me of plants like sunflowers nutating, you know, that spiral motion they make as they grow towards the sun. Like if that is, I think that is the path for each of us. There's something so fundamental and true there.
And maybe our work is removing anything that blocks that motion towards the sun. Because I think that is what makes us feel stuck or out of sucker punched.
Out of sunlight. Yeah,
out
totally.
of sunlight, or that we start
Constrict.
to constrict is when there's something blocking the sun. So whether it's a parasol or I don't know, we can think of a lot of creative ideas.
Yes, self-doubt,
you know,
negative self-talk.
So much.
Life,
or the idea that what happens, you know, I should just stay here because I know what's here in the darkness, and I don't know how I'll grow in the sunlight. I mean, we can take this.
Right. Everyone else I know here is here, you know, like around me. That's a big part of it, is being the first to push away.
Well, that's interesting because I think in many ways, no, not many ways. I think when we're following our path, it won't look like what anyone else is doing.
Yeah.
How could it? It's ours.
Yeah, exactly.
Like by definition, if you know, it's going to look different, and that can feel very vulnerable because it's like, hey, I don't see anyone else doing this like this, and I'll say, great, that's a signal, that's a sign that you're on your path because you can't see anyone else doing it like this, and it takes a lot of courage to walk, but once again, it feels really fulfilling. So if someone out there is like listening, like, oh God, no one else is doing this thing. Maybe I've got this wrong, or maybe I should follow what, you know, Marion says about how to create or grow my business. I'd say, like, you know, no, just reconnect to like your way and knowing that you'll succeed because of who you are.
Yeah.
Not despite it.
And that there might be long spells where you don't get that validation of any form. And in those spells, it really helps to have a tribe of other creative people around if you can, but you might not yet, or
we're here.
We're here. Absolutely.
We're here.
Yes.
And I don't know who Marianne is, by the way. I just made that name.
Nothing personal to any of the Marians out there.
Exactly. But we're here. And that's, I think, why
Absolutely.
we're also meeting and communing and talking is, you know, to share these ideas and these thoughts and to help all of us feel a little less alone.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, you know, your book is an invitation to make your life your biggest art project. And also it is the creative club. Like this, come join, be part of it. If you take these steps, that's what you are doing. You are joining the club of like-minded people, like-minded being. We choose to put fear in the backseat and not use the maps. We choose to sit with ourselves and believe this experience that I'm having as Sonia is the one I'm meant to be having, and it's beautiful and it's right. But also the experience of me in the past, as you said in your questions to our newsletter questions, that you would thank the past version of yourself for her courage. And I thought that was so lovely and true. Like, we need to hold compassion for all parts of ourselves on this journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think writing that book for me was a way of also integrating past selves and standing for the past versions of myself that I often didn't stand for because I felt ashamed of in some way. Like, oh, she really fucked that up, didn't she?
I know. I could have spent my 20s differently.
Yeah, that could have been a little... and so in a way, this was me not shape-shifting, not curating my story in a way that presented just the best parts of myself, but actually tipping my hat to all the past versions of myself that went through, you know, the shit and the sunshine to get me here to who I am today. And without her or the hers, I wouldn't be who I am. And when I start to fall in like or in love with who I am today, I can only thank all of them for bringing me here. Because even when it didn't make sense, every step, every part of their journey was walking me to this current destination, and I'm walking my future self like I'm helping her out, you know, get to where she needs to go. And I think there's a lot of love, self-love, and forgiveness and vulnerability in that. And that was important to me too, because that's part of honoring my original form.
I think the other part you honor so beautifully in your book, Pia, is your parents. And that I think the other part of this gift that we don't talk about so often is our parents, for most of us, couldn't take this journey. Like whatever it was generationally, it wasn't available to them for most cases like it is to us now. And I don't know if it's because we've got the technology now to spread our stories so far and wide. So we can have this creative conversation and we're in different parts of the world and we can do this many times over with many different creators. And I can't help but think that's part of what's happening. And of course, psychology and all of the wonderful tools, right? But our parents made us. And though they are imperfect, we are also imperfect. They're part of our beautiful story. And I love how you weave that in.
Thanks. Here's what I think about that. I think that's part of our evolution.
Yeah.
I think if we're evolving, every next generation is going to look back and go, Mom, Dad, really?
Yeah.
Like, what were you doing? That didn't work for me. And then they're going to do their best to be, to do differently than their parents did.
Mm.
And then their kids are going to look back and go, Mom, Dad, really?
Yeah.
And then they're going to do their best to do it differently. And then so on. And it's like kind of how we all grow. We do our best with what we've been given and we try to do better than what we were given. We try to, and I know my mom, and my dad for that matter, definitely did better than where they came from. Like, my mom is one of 10 kids and she didn't feel like loved by her mom because she had 10 kids. So she was like, she had the older ones
spread around.
Yeah. On the farm in Quebec, like go outside and lock the door and, just fend for yourself kind of thing. And even when my mom was older, she would say, I think she was like 60 or 50 and saying, "Oh, Mom, you never really said I love you." And it's like, why you talk about this now? She's not going to change. I mean, but anyway, it was interesting to see her have that. And my mom always told me she loved me. My mom she always reminded me of how much she loved me. And then there are other things that she did when I look and go, oh, maybe I'm going to do it differently. And I just think that's a part of our evolution and growth as a species.
But I do think there's something particular happening in this time. I have a mentor. I mean, I guess I like to believe there's something particular happening in this time. A mentor of mine who believes very strongly in the Tao and the Taoist principles of the cycle, that we're in this cycle now where we're moving as a populace, as a human species, towards a more collaborative time that is also more in the feminine. And I think so much of what we've been talking about really is, you could say, the cycle of creativity and destruction is such a feminine side of our human existence.
It feels like we're in the destruction zone, if you ask me.
But I know.
That's why I'm
dancing on the embers here.
I don't know if anyone can see me, but I'm making faces for that very reason. Like, it's just, I don't know. I hope that this is part of our creative awakening and process, this kind of destruction of what we once knew into something else. And that, sorry, go on, Chris. Or to say this quickly. Or that the voice, it's like the death rattle before something dies. It gets really, really loud. Or that like the old is dying and it's just like
last
yelling,
grip.
Yes.
Last grip. It's kind of a hope, but human life span is so short. Like, so who knows how long? I don't know how many lifetimes it will take to construct the next Tao version of the feminine creation collaboration.
I know.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I hope in my lifetime.
Me
Chris,
too.
you were gonna say it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, not at all. I just think, like, lately I've been working in such a way that especially with my drawing, sketching, which I haven't done for ages, and all of a sudden started doing it. But what I've been really enjoying, which I found really challenging before, was I would start drawing something, and then now what I do is I'll turn it to the side and start redrawing on it. Or else I will just erase a part of it and draw over it. And those parts that are underneath all add to it. But in some ways, I'm destroying it and then recreating something and destroying it. But at least in the creative fields, the act of destroying something actually is really freeing. because for me, one of my biggest threats, if you want to call it a threat, I don't like that word, but one of the biggest challenges I have is like having that something come out almost fully formed too quickly
Mm,
and then holding on to that.
mm.
And that is like such a death nail to creativity because you're like, no, you haven't even explored anything. You were just da da da. And like, so by pulling that apart again and let's delve a little deeper into it, let's explore it more. Like that's becoming so much more interesting to me than how I used to work, where I felt like it was I couldn't let go of this something in me. I would call it structure, I would call it composition, but really it was maybe a fear of exploring out past the walls into the meadow. Um,
Mm.
and it's funny because now I'm actually starting to draw a lot of meadows. So yeah, so I think that, that yes, I mean, like destruction in this world is quite brutal. And if you're caught up in the middle of it, it's not pleasant. But like it feels like on this planet Earth that is hurtling through space, that is what's part of us happening. And us humans just seem to have a beautiful capacity for it at present.
True. And I think in this time of destruction, creativity and creators are needed more than
Yes,
ever before.
more
Because
than
we
ever.
need people who are also building and creating and making
Yeah.
as things, just like that tracing over on your paper, you know? We
Yes.
also need the trace over what is behind. So
Mhm.
shout out to
Absolutely.
everyone who has who's part of the build, part of that
The
creativity.
build,
You
I
know,
love that.
you're needed. You
Yeah.
I
are
think
so needed.
that's what we're doing. So the reason I bring up that macro destructive cycle we're in, Pia, is I can't help but think that this individual process of aligning ourselves to our path and embracing the realization that there's nothing to lose other than the life that we're living. Like we have to fully grab it and take it and be it. That by living this way, we are showing others exactly what to do in this kind of time, because that's really the only thing you can do ever anyway. But really, in times like this, that's where you get the power, because it's not going to be handed to you. It was never going to be handed to you. But
It's
certainly,
always within you.
yes, exactly.
People
Yeah.
will try to make you forget that.
They will really hard, because I think like especially when you're first pushing past out of the norm, so to speak, it is scary in a way that is existential to those around you for you to change. And you have to remind yourself of that maybe the people around you right now aren't the ones who are going to be with you on this next part of the journey. And that's okay. You can love them. But their advice might not be the advice you need. So just being careful about who you're listening to on that. I mean, when I started my startup, I was like maybe 6 months or a year in, and a cousin of mine said, "Hey, cuz, how long are you going to keep up at this on before you go get a real job again?" I was like, "Whoa, I'm kind of planning on this being it, actually."
Yeah.
You'll hear a lot of that kind of thing, I think, that when you're
True.
starting.
I heard a really good advice from one of my closest friends who's Irish as well. And his name is Paul, and he's a CEO. He's been ran his own business for so many years. And he just said, just so you know, it can take at least 3 years for you to start to see sort of a return on your business. So buckle up, but he said it in the kindest of ways. It was more just because I had all these ideas about like in 1 year, I'm going to be here. And then he's like, he didn't dim my light. He just was, he just said, from my experience, it can take at least 3 years, and that actually felt really I didn't believe it at first. Reassuring, especially as like I went, and then I spoke to a lot of other entrepreneurs and founders, and it's like, oh no, it takes time. And my husband said the same thing because he had his own business as well, and he's like, it takes time to build a business, but once you start getting that momentum, it will ebb and flow as these things do, but it will feel different. And that was what was really interesting for me. I had a lot of anxiety when I launched Collective Studio because I was very much in the uncertain unknown, like income. I had a nest egg, but still, like clients. When's the next one's coming next? Ooh, what is this going to be? Ooh, I don't know. Ooh, ooh.
A lot of ooh,
a lot of ooh and ah, and I felt like. Sometimes it felt like I
A
couldn't
little bit
really,
of a death rattle in there.
yeah, or just couldn't breathe, you know? And I
Mm-hmm.
just kept saying, where are you? You're here. Like, you know, do the practices, find the joy as well of like, ooh, I can do anything. Like, what could that be? And just ride with it, ride the wave. And after a year, that anxiety had lessened so much. And I remember one day just realizing it wasn't there anymore. It doesn't mean I don't have
Right.
it. I do get
Sure.
it, but not
Yeah.
in the same way. It wasn't like that throat grip that had me
Yeah.
before.
Where you
And
almost can't think straight, that kind
right.
of.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, how do you get through that? Well, just by doing it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you keep it, and then you create evidence for yourself. Oh, look, I didn't die. Oh, look, I survived. Oh, look, things have a
Right.
way of working out. Oh, I'm going to be okay. And then all of a sudden, it's like my nervous system adapts to that, and it's like, oh no, I'm okay, and it helps to build resilience for the next risk, like
Yes.
writing a book, like doing other things. Like, it's okay. I probably won't know what it will be when I start, and it's by starting that I find
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be okay because I got my back, and so does life. It's going to work out. And that's like my lifelong journey. Like I just want to continue. I think it's Michael Singer that wrote this book called, no, I don't think it is. He wrote this book called The Surrender Experiment. I mean, he's next level spiritual leader. So I'm not ascribing to have the level of surrender he had. He's basically kind of says like, I want my life to be an experiment in surrender where I just allow what's happening and open to
That
it
is
and
next
follow
level.
it. I found it so powerful that I want to create my own Pia Lichter version of that, where,
Yes.
you know, I kind of just allow and see where I go when I ride the uncertainty and move with trust instead of fear.
That's
And all the
beautiful.
places it could take me. Because,
All the
Yeah.
places you'll go.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, Pia, as I've been working lately, just because like getting involved with Sonia and starting a startup and being a founder and all that puts like all of a sudden ignorance was bliss on my part. I moved into this space and all of a sudden just everything started changing because it needed to change. Like I couldn't operate in the same way that I had and think in the same way as being in the world of being a founder. You had to explore all of your vulnerabilities because otherwise they will get in your way and they'll get in your way quickly. And so what was really interesting at this point where I'm at now is like especially with the drawing part of things is really interesting because it's such a very beautiful, simple, tactile. I love the fact that it's just a sheet of paper and a pencil. That I love the simplicity of it, but I keep hearing that voice inside of myself as I'm drawing to just go surrender, surrender, because up to this point, I feel like I've been trying to direct things and it so gets in my way, but I wasn't always aware that that was the problem. And of course, it's like every cliche you hear, your blocks are staring you in the face or whatever the expression is. And it's like, yeah, what does that mean exactly? But like hearing the surrender voice and then getting out of my own way and just letting the drawing unfold has been such a really interesting practice. And two things I'm thinking about when I say that in regards to you and your book is one, you talk about getting to appreciate the idea of a routine again and a ritual of sorts. And like, so how do you juggle the idea of trying to keep a routine going that allows you to show up every day, but not allow that routine to become too rigid that it gets in the way again?
Oh, Chris, this is this is the constant exploration and experiment because routine is needed, but man, when it becomes out of balance, as you said, you used the words I've used before. I fall into rigidity, and if I fall into rigidity, then it chokes my creativity. Does not work. But I do need routine in order to create to keep showing up. When I don't like the word consistently, it's been used in weird ways, but to keep showing up.
Right.
So what do I do? Well, actually wrote a newsletter about it where it was a good newsletters like are kind of like essays, waves of exploring what's present for me, and then I kind of unfold it. And I'm like, if I had to redesign a day in my life, what would the flow look like? And then I look to inspiration, and I think I'm gonna forget his name, Bruno Cuccelli. He's like this I didn't even know who he was, but I saw his day in the life on Instagram, and then I got really curious. I was like, oh, that sounds like a good day in the life. And apparently he's the creative director, the head fashion designer for a big Italian luxury suits brand. And his day in the life was like he wakes up at 6:30. He relaxes in the garden, but then like he creates and designs for like a chunk from, I don't know what time it was, from like 9 to 12. And then he takes a walk into the village and has pasta, and then he has a nap, and then like in the afternoon, but I didn't really, and then in the afternoon he has like ops and administrative work and other things, and then he has dinner at 6 o'clock again with people, and then he goes and discuss in the evening politics and all types of stuff at the local whatever bar. I'm not even sure if it was a bar somewhere. It just sounded like the perfect like creativity, and so I tried to make my own, and it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and have my matcha latte, and then I'm going to do these things. And from 9 to 12, I'll just create. And then I'll do all my, like, my client work and other creative work in the afternoon, because I'm trying to learn how to create a new choreography between creating for myself, for others at the end, to impact others, but for myself, if you know what I mean, and to create with others. So that's the business side of things.
Yeah.
And that's very new for me. And that was introduced when I had my book opportunity came up. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. If my purpose is to unleash creativity to build a better world, I don't only
You better be
unleash
living it.
I better be living that.
Yeah.
I'm not only unleashing other people's creativity, and I'm not only unleashing my creativity to build commercially sound ventures, I'm also unleashing my creativity to make and create art.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, so how do I create space to do both of these things? It feels very fresh and new to me. Needless to say, that schedule did not work. It was too
rigid.
ideal.
It was rigid,
but it was too ideal. It was like, life, it's from 9 to 12, and then from 1 to, I mean, it was but it was a good experiment to see like how I wanted to invest my time and stuff. But, you know, now it's like, okay, well, maybe it's 2 hours every morning that I just create. Let's start there. Let's lower the bar, like in the sense of let's keep it, and then just show up 2 hours every day, not on the weekends, because I don't like rigidity. So weekends I go, Pia, you don't have to do a damn thing. If you want to write, you write. If you don't want to write, you can make pancakes. You could take a nap. You could.
We're not going to do the crack the whip. I have to work on weekends because I'm self-employed. Da, 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 da.
We're not doing anything. I don't want to have to do anything. Like, it's
No,
so
that's one of the basic ground rules.
I mean, I break it sometimes just to be, you know, honest.
Because you have to be a rebel in all ways.
Yeah, exactly. But generally, I try not to have anything to do, because that feeds my inner rebel. She loves that. And I'm like, even when it comes to like, I have to work out. If I try to just work out during the week so I can have just time to do it, nothing, whatever I want to do. So I'm lowering the bar, starting there, and then experimenting. A continuous experiment. That's how I do it. Like, okay, I'm going to try that, and then I'm going to see how that goes. I also have a new role as a fractional creative director. That's very new for me. It's like, how do I fit all of this in? And that's raised a lot of other questions. So it's just life changes. Yeah. That's why I think it's really difficult to have a set structure, because it's like, well, that's nice if life remains static.
Yeah. Or is it though? Because isn't that the antithesis of what we're talking about anyway, right? Like in some ways.
Well, I've come to learn that, and this is something I used to rebel against, that creativity does require showing up every day to it. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, like I need some kind of routine.
Yeah. That's professionalism.
To feed it, to feed myself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and then I can feel a longing when I'm not doing it. Like I feel a bit of a longing right now. Like, I would like to write some poetry. I'd like to do other things. But instead of taking any drastic decisions, I applied for the residency.
You did something to potentially make that time for yourself, because you can feel yourself craving it. So like that's a step you could take to create that time.
Exactly. And it kind of made me light up when I was looking at it. So Chris, I wish I had a nice, neat answer for you, but it's just running a series of experiments, being kind to myself, realizing when I'm trying to set the bar too high with like 4 hours from 9 to 12 every day. And it's like, no, that's just not going to work. Because other things come up, and I need sunshine.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. I need to get out of my house.
Make your life also a series of experiments.
Oh, absolutely.
improve, hypothesize, repeat. That is a healthy thing for any creative, I think, to take that approach.
And using the words matter. Using the word
Mm.
experiment is it's liberating, because
Yeah, it is.
experiments are meant to fail.
And to discover.
Because that's where you find, that's where you get data. Oh,
Yes.
that didn't work. Oh,
That's
okay,
right.
that didn't work. Then I'm going to, fix this, to do this differently. So that's the intention. It's not to be perfect. It's to gather data. And the best data comes from also what doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Or what failed.
Yeah.
And so it kind of allows us to embrace that, because that's kind of the point. It's not,
right.
It's not to
integrate
get it right.
Right.
Yeah.
More like integrating those learnings.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I just want to quickly, another thought I'm having and remembering from your book is the idea that you can, sometimes, as I say, like with poetry, the way you put something can really unlock something for a person and not for another. But the idea that you can through creativity, you can design your own life. Like, in some ways, I've always known that, but when you hear it, like in life, when you hear it back from other people in certain ways, like Sani with journaling, Christian, just journal, and I'm like, I will, and then I understand the importance of it when she's telling me, but until you start doing it, do you actually really feel and understand what it means? And so, I love the idea of using your creativity to design your life, like living life as an artist, not just what you make as an artist, but every part of your life. Getting up in the morning, how you make your coffee, how you dress, how you plant your garden, however it would be. But I think if you live life through like that, then our friends were talking about that movie, Sonny, yesterday. It's set in Japan, is it? And it's basically where he's a janitor, or he cleans toilets, but he has this beautiful he lives very simply, but he reads all the time. All he has is kind of books, and he gets up in the morning and he looks out and he's like, I'm so happy to be alive. I get to live another day of my life and be in my own mind and think my own thoughts. And I think if you can live life where without being like as if your head is in the clouds, like you do need to be very physically in this world too, I think, right? You need to engage with the world around you, but channeling creativity through everything you do is highly transformative.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Life itself is a creative process.
Yeah.
That is a perfect note to end on, I think. It's been lovely talking with you this morning, Pia.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
For the wonderful conversation. I felt like we could have gone on for a very long time, which is always a great sign.
Yes.
Those
Yes,
electric.
it is.
I agree.
Tissue
I
talks,
agree.
so
I know you have writing to do, and I love your poetry so much. I can't wait to read more of it, and I would love to share the poetry project you're working on with your collaborators. So we'll put those links if they're ready to be shared.
They're not live yet, but it's going to be ready before the end of summer. That's pretty
great.
much
Okay.
concrete. But I'm also excited. I look forward to hearing what you think. Speaking of co-creation, Chris, like before, what happens is, to write something. So take a poem, something I've done, and then to have a musician, producer feel it, and then come up with, their interpretation of what that's evoked in them and what they think, and then to have a track that then comes from that, and then to put them together, it's like all of a sudden it's a whole new thing. And I could never have imagined it could become this. And the power of that, wow, like the power of listening to both sound, like my voice, but also like the track he's able to compose together, that if bring different ways of seeing and feeling that emotion. Wow, it was such a joy to create.
I can't wait to hear that,
so
and
I look
see
forward
it,
to hearing
hear
what
it.
you think.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
That sounds wonderful, Pia.
Yeah. Well, here's to the next collaboration and the next steps on all of our collective adventures out there in the creative unknown with grace and love. Yeah. This has been a great conversation. Thank you, Pia.
Thank you so much. Can I ask, before we leave, can you tell me the story behind the dog behind you? I've been dying to know.
Oh. This is Frida. Actually, I can. Oh no, she's not in here. Oh, she is in here. She's my little dog. Our vet calls her a Puerto Rican street dog because her breed is unknown. But she's my precious little baby who barks at anyone who isn't me and has spunky personality. And this was a This is a Christmas present from Christopher a couple of years ago.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah. She's my baby.
It's important to also bring in all the creativity that's around us.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
Yeah, I always see Frida as a character out of a Wes Anderson or something. Like she's just got peculiar personality in my eyes. I guess like I do.
Don't we all? That's what we love about each other.
Exactly. Love it.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day, guys.
You too.
Yes. See you, Pia. Thank you.
See you, Chris. Thanks.
Bye, Pia.
Bye.
RSVP. Art is an invitation to a place where we draw shapes on fogged up windows, learn new languages whispered in the breeze, write the story of our bones on screens in blue light, dance down grocery aisles shaking a bag of popcorn like a pom-pom, marvel at a cracked pomegranate in our stained fingertip whirls, hold a pearly seashell to our ears to hear the ocean's poetry, make cherry clafoutis in memory of someone we loved. How we live is our art, the purest form of creation, made in Egyptian cotton sheets and inside stars before Earth was born.